Do I sound okay, by the way?
Yes, you sound perfect. You sound perfect.
Awesome.
Oh, here
We're
we
live.
go. Let's have this. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means? It's comic book time. I've got my cup of coffee. Today we have Mr. Incredible, and we've got Thor's hammer filled, or Thor, not Thor. Oh my goodness, I sound like an idiot now.
That's
We
okay.
have the
Well,
Infinity Gauntlet filled
there
with
we
some
go.
incredible tea.
Look at that. Yep. So I'm a tea drinker, guys. Sorry to let you know, but I'm a tea drinker, and here's my cup of tea. But it's definitely the Infinity Gauntlet, old school Infinity Gauntlet with the green stone in the middle, the Soul Stone. This is the way it should be. I don't know what they were thinking about putting the Infinity Stone as the orange stone, as the Soul Stone. But then again, it's the MCU. What are we gonna say about that? You know what I mean?
Things change, from one medium to another. So, I mean, as
Exactly.
far as cups go, that's canon.
Yeah, right. Good way of looking
So,
at it.
today we are talking with Izzy from the IzzyVerse, and take a look here. Izzy has his own show, his own podcast, and he talks about comics, and he talks about wrestling, and he talks about all kinds of things. And he's a participant in other streams. So we're going to have a conversation about that and see where it leads us.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm very happy to be here at morning coffee. We're gonna change it to morning coffee and tea. Um, but yeah, I'm happy that you reached out to me. It's fun to be on the other side of the interview wall, I guess. Because it's I know it's hard coming up with questions sometimes, and coming up with questions that people are interested in. At the same time, it's always a blast to be, getting to talk to other people outside of my stratosphere, really.
Well, I find that I have about 101 interests in my life, and I figured that there's got to be at least one or two people that share those same interests and would be interested in talking to the same people that I'm interested in talking to. And that's why I started having people on in the morning for a cup of coffee and a quick chat about their specialities. I always say that if you want to get better at something, you surround yourself with knowledgeable people. And I
I
always
gotta go
try
now.
to. Well, there's a lot of people out there that know a whole lot more about me about a bunch of stuff. When you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none, and you got to talk to the masters to learn more.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I started this channel, which was several months ago, my intention was to kind of marry all the things that I love in different industries, right? So, as obviously put, I'm very huge on comic books. I've been a comic book fan since I've been 11. I've been collecting comic books back in 87. I started my first comic book collection. So, and I still have many of those first books. Some of them look like garbage, but some of them are in great shape, and they are part of the valuable collection that I have in comics.
Hmm.
My very first comic book was a Marvel's Tales 208, which just recently I just purchased it again so I could have a better looking copy of it. But the original stored away in my closet. And it looks like garbage, but it's the sentimental value of it all, right? It's not that it's a book that has any value. In fact, when I bought it for like $2. So it's like
Hmm.
it still doesn't have value. And it's a reprint of a tale. However, my second book, which is what I like talking about, is the famous Wolverine cover that's in the Incredible Hulk 340 of Todd McFarlane. That's my second comic book that I collected. And I still have the original, and it's actually in pristine condition. So I'm happy about that one. That's one that's going to stay in that collection for a very long time. And then that's
How do
pretty much where I built my collection, and really my love for the art of comics, because I'm also an artist, first and foremost. That's what I am first out of everything else. I am content
yes.
creator. I mentioned to you I'm a trainer,
Hmm.
wrestling fan, all this stuff. But first and foremost, I am an artist who loves to draw comics.
Well, that's awesome. Do you have anything out there that people can buy, or web comics
So,
or anything like
so
that?
as far as purchasing comics, there's nothing really out there. So I formed a very small press company group. Actually, it's more like a collective, I'll call it, called Pronto Comics back in the early 2000s. I want to say 2005, 2006, 7. I never really took count of when exactly it happened. But me and a whole bunch of writers and artists who were part of the comic experience by Andy Schmidt, which is still going on to this day. We got together in New York City because that's where we're all based in. We got together in New York City. We met at a pizza place, and that's where we ended up forming this company called Pronto Comics. Now the name stems from the pizza place that we went because the pizza place was called Pronto Pizza. So we got to give credit to Pronto Pizza for creating Pronto Comics and the name. And I was with them for several years. We did shows, we did conventions, and then over for personal reasons I stepped out, and they continue moving forward. They're still out there today, a little bit on a hiatus, but they're still out there. And I'm really happy to say that they're out there being run by Dominic Sparrow and Dennis Knight, which I hear they're going to be doing some new stuff coming up really soon. So I'm excited about that. As far as this YouTube channel thing goes, I started a few months ago, back in March, I want to say.
Hmm.
And the whole idea for me was getting back into comics. Because I actually took a hiatus from comics as a whole. I didn't collect comic books. I've always kept myself in the loop in some way or another, but I stopped collecting comics because I think there was a change in the atmosphere and in a change of how comic books are being done. There's things in the comic book industry I like, and there's things I don't like. Which we could, if you have any questions about what are they, I could tell you what they are. Um, and I found out that I'm not the only one that feels that way.
I
Um,
think there's a there's a lot of turmoil actually happening right now, and people drawing sides from one side to the other, different opinions about different things, and not the not to put a fine point on it, but if somebody finds a success outside of the industry, that's as a whole, and starts trying to reimagine how things work, there seems to be a lot of animosity for that.
yeah, I agree to that. I also think that these companies, and when I'm talking about mainstream comics in general, the DC and the Marvels, nothing against them particular, because again, I love my Spider-Mans, I love my Batmans and things like that. But what I've noticed is that they're trying to avoid a new image. And what I mean by that is that if you look into their books, you will notice there's only a few people that are considered superstar artists, superstar writers. It's actually more
Hmm.
writers than artists these days. But one thing I also noticed in a lot of these books is it's very difficult to pinpoint who's drawing what. And it's become more of a generic art style. It's still beautiful and still gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but it seems generic. It seems like everyone's drawing the same way. And when I was
Well,
collecting comics in my day, you knew an artist immediately. You saw a book, you immediately knew who that artist was. Today, it's a little harder to pinpoint who that is.
and
And
that
there's
kind of dynamic started in the 80s, I think, is when it started to diverge into superstar artists. If you go back to the 60s and 70s, you had the house style for Marvel, you had the house style for DC. You even had a house style for whoever was publishing the Archie comics at the time. And everybody tried to fit within that house style, and that was taught to the artist. It wasn't until you had those standouts that came around and pushed the boundaries of what was expected for a specific comic book. Your Todd
yeah,
McFarlane's and your image guys, like you were saying,
yeah,
that came out and made superstars of themselves and walked away.
yeah. And even in the 60s and 70s, there were some guys out there, right?
Oh,
Steranko, Neil Adams, George
Kirby.
Perez, who came out from the 70s but really made a name for himself in the 80s.
Hmm.
Art Adams, he's who I call the first American manga artist. There's those before him, but he's the one that stood out. He's clearly my favorite artist, Arthur Adams. His stuff on Long Shot, his stuff with the X Men, the annuals, classic X Men, those covers, they were standouts, right?
Hmm.
And it wasn't until we saw guys like McFarley, like Rob Liefeld, whether you like his artwork or not. I personally, I like his older stuff better than his newer stuff because I think his newer stuff is just he's catering to the style that he created, I guess. But his older stuff is actually pretty good. It's
Yeah.
not that bad. Jim Lee, of course, and those
Yes.
names, they all stood out from your typical house style approach. And I feel like what's happening today is that you don't see that as much as you used to. Again,
Hmm.
there are still guys out there that are still making a name out of themselves, and that's great. But they're all starting to look the same. It's starting to mesh into this similar look, and you have to really pinpoint it to figure out, is that Ryan Stegman? Is that, I'm trying to, Dan Mora, and guys like that. You try to say, like, Herberto Ramos still stands out because he
Hmm.
used to stand out before them, right? So he kind of
Yes.
like just came into the picture, and
Oh,
more
looks like we
clones.
had a little bit of. Yeah, you
Yeah,
kind of dropped out there for a second, but.
yeah. So do you. No,
So
but what I
do
was,
you?
yeah.
I was going to say, ask, do you think this homogenization made it easier for the writers to take center stage?
I don't think so. I think the writers are the writers, and I think what ends up happening is I think Marvel and DC are searching they're picking their writers and having them write their books without an artist attached to them for the most part. I think what's happening, what I'm seeing now, is that a writer is just writing and then they're just handing off to an artist. And maybe
Okay.
there is some, conversations between the two, but I don't think there's a lot of marriages between creators like they used to be. You know what I mean? There are a few. Donnie Katz and Ryan Stegman are two in particular that stand out for me. That they're
Hmm.
always together. But you don't see usually when there's a writer, that writer is kind of like his own thing, and he may actually have a group of artists that are attached to him in some way. But I
Yeah,
think
we're
what you
not seeing a
see,
whole lot of the traditional Stan Lee Marvel way of doing things, where plots are handed in and then pencils are drawn and then lettering is put in with the dialogue and whatnot.
yeah,
It's a little less collaborative and it's more one on one, if that makes sense.
it's a business now. It's more of a business rather than a
Hmm.
creative process. It's here's the business, here's the story. It's been written already. Let's go.
It's
So there's things
probably
like that.
stems
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
it
Uh,
stems from the fact that they are no longer their own separate entities. And Marvel and DC were imprints all on their own without a corporate head to look down on them and talk about budgeting and expenses and things like that. But now these imprints are seen as a secondary to the whole, and decisions are made simply because it makes financial sense in the long run. Like when they decided to kill off the mutants, it was because they didn't own the mutants or the X-Men
yeah, they
and
didn't own
some of these
they
things.
owned the mutants. They just didn't own the
Yeah, they didn't own the
distributions of
film.
yeah,
They
the
didn't own
film
the film
rights,
rights, so
which meant
they
more to them.
they cut out the comic books at the expense of the readers and the fans to spite the filmmakers and the studios that own the rights that they themselves want very badly. And I don't think that's a good way to run a business as a secondary item.
Mhm. Yeah, to this day, just because of that reason, I don't have a Jubilee Funko Pop. To this day, there is no Jubilee Funko Pop. Now, I heard that it's on its way. I definitely heard it's on its way,
Hmm.
but that's a perfect example where my daughter. Just to let you know, my daughters are named after X Men characters. My
Oh,
old
sweet.
my oldest daughter is named Jubilee, right?
That's awesome.
And my youngest is named Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is a cash cow, so there's no you have to make them, right? But Jubilee, not so much, right? Jubilee is just a niche, right? People who love the cartoon really love Jubilee. Some people would say that Kitty Pryde is my teenage girl.
Hmm.
Whatever you want, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. But I was a huge Jubilee fan. In fact, I was a huge Jubilation Lee fan. So that's actually my daughter's name. And I've been wanting this Funko Pop to exist, and to this day, it still doesn't exist. But I heard rumors that it is. It's coming. But
Hmm.
yep,
Well,
that's how angry I am at the folks over at Disney. Um, give me my Funko Pop, guys, and then all will be forgiven.
so, oh man, I hadn't even thought about Jubilees in forever since the cartoons
Yeah,
came out back in the '80s. So,
they're coming back, baby, and I'm excited for it.
yeah, yeah, that's going to be a good one there. So let's talk about IzzyFest because that's going on this week.
Yeah, Izzy Fest. We're in the middle of Izzy Fest. Izzy Fest is something that actually happens every year for me personally. Um, I I'm a bit what's the word? What's the word you use? I wouldn't say narcissistic. I'm a little shallow sometimes, right? And for me, I always called it Izzy Fest. So this week it always falls on this week, and you'll know why. You know why already, but you'll really know why for those of you who are watching. So Izzy Fest is just a celebration of everything I love, everything I do, and I figured with the channel now in play, which the channel that's running and everything else, why not give that love back to other people? And what Izzy Fest really is a celebration, and every day during this week I am giving away stuff to fans and people that watch the channel, who follow me on Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok, even though I don't do as much as I want to in TikTok because I don't find TikTok as useful as the other ones. Um, I'm mostly I'm mostly confined to my IG, I'm confined to my Twitter, and of course my YouTube, which is the bread and butter of them all. Um, so, with that said, I do an Izzy Fest giveaway every day. Yesterday was a good one. We had our Star Wars giveaway because we did a preempted. It really was. It was like a last minute thing. We ended up doing our Andor preview where we all watched Rogue One and we did a review of a movie that came out years ago. We were like spoiler. And so I gave a lot of Star Wars stuff the day before that. I gave away some other items, some other stuff, some a manga month. It was Manga Monday, so I gave away some manga statues. And even before that, I gave a Funko Batman out at
Oh,
the Queens Comic Party, which I attended, which was a fun little event here in Queens. I'm in the Bronx, but that was in Queens, New York.
hmm.
Today, there's a lot more, and I decided in the show to do it here. So here I have a few things. Now I don't see anybody in the chat, so if somebody was watching in the chat, make sure you put your name in the comment. That will help me out know who is watching if somebody's watching, but somebody might be watching later on. But I do have three items that I will give away today, starting with, and here's the first one, the second issue of 8 Billion Genies. This is the first edition. So this is the first printing of 8 Billion Genies issue number 2. Unfortunately, I do have issue number 1, but it's my personal one and I'm not giving that away. But this is one I'm going to be giving out. Another book I want to give out, as we talk about wrestling, which we will talk about wrestling a little bit later. I'm gonna do a Power Bond issue number 1. This is a first printing of the first issue, so I definitely have a second issue for myself. And just because we did Star Wars, I figured might as well give away a photo issue of issue number 1 of The Mandalorian, and that's good to go out to people that are watching from this show.
Those
So
are some exciting things.
yeah, it's fun stuff.
I'm starting to love the crossovers between wrestling and comic books these days.
Yeah, because you know what? Like myself, I think there's many people out there that watch wrestling and read comics. It is something that within the geek culture, it's just a thing, right? For
Hmm.
me, wrestling has always been a thing because it is the one thing that connected me and my father. Now, my father, who passed away several years ago, about 12 years ago now, he and I will always watch wrestling together. And
Hmm.
when he got into wrestling, I mean, he got into wrestling, and we attended a lot of events back in the day. So I was at the first SummerSlam. Went to the first SummerSlam with him. He took me to SummerSlam, and we got to see a lot of cool events. We did. We went to. Well, he didn't go to. At that time, I ended up going with some family members. We went to the Monday Night Raw where Stone Cold gave McMahon the very first stunner of many to come. One of the worst stunners ever. Went there. We went to WrestleMania 20. Me and my wife went to WrestleMania 20. We were there in attendance. We did some other shows, and I'm always watching wrestling. Got to see
Hmm.
Grand Slam last year for AEW. Going tonight to see Grand Slam for today.
That's
So I'm
going to
excited
be
about
a
that.
that's going to be a heck of a show.
That's gonna be a big
Um,
show, man. I'm expected to come home very late that tonight.
you know what? How are you going to get out of there? I hear it's always horrible to come out of there. I mean, they're probably going to tape a couple of episodes of Dark right afterwards. You sticking around for that, or are you leaving
So
early?
what they're gonna end up doing is, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do the same thing that they did last year. They're gonna do some episodes of Dark first. So that's the first thing we get. We'll get an episode of Dark re-recorded. Then they go live at 8 o'clock for Dynamite. All right, which
Hmm.
would be Grand Slam, and that's where we're gonna get the main event. After that's over at 10 o'clock, we're gonna be treated to not one but 2 hours worth of Rampage. So
Oh, yeah,
Rampage is
that's right.
also going to be recorded. So I'm expected that we will be out of there by midnight.
Mm.
And the good news about that area, it's in Queens. I've been debating whether I should drive or take mass transit. If I drive, then it'll be easy for me to get out.
Yeah,
Right?
how close does the train get to the stadium?
The train's right there. So the train
Okay.
takes you right to the spot. So that's the
Hmm.
same area where not Shea Stadium. I'm talking about Shea. City Fields is in the Mets. I'm a Bronx kid, man. I'm a New Yorker, so I'm a Yankee fan. So we'll see how things work out there. But it's the same place. It's Arthur Ashe Stadium, so that's where the
Hmm.
U.S. Open is being held. So the area is it's easy to get through mass transit. In fact, they recommend mass transit. Only difference is that when you're in Queens, there's no connection from Queens to the Bronx. You always have to go to Manhattan. So you have to take the 7 train back to
Hmm.
Manhattan to come back to the Bronx. And that alone, it'll be about an hour's ride, where the drive for me will probably be more on the lines of 20 minutes. Some
Yeah.
of it probably be stuck trying to just get out of the traffic.
Now, I've never been to the East Coast, so
Got to come out here,
uh,
man. New York Comic Con's
absolutely
happening.
correct me if I'm wrong, but in Flushings, there's not really a whole lot to do after a certain time period. So when you guys get out at midnight or so, uh, unless you're looking, I don't guess that there's going to be a whole lot to eat around there.
Oh, we're the city that never sleeps. Don't you know that part?
Well, I
We
know that
got
about
places.
Manhattan.
No, we got places. The whole city. The whole city.
Okay.
Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and yeah, we admit we're part of Staten Island too. Um, it's it it's open 24/7. There's a
Sweet,
store.
sweet.
There's a little store called the Bodega that we go to. That's the deli. Um, they're always open. There's always a place. White Castle never sleeps.
Oh
So
my goodness.
I never worry about places to eat afterwards. But chances are I'd probably be full already. So
I've never tasted a White Castle that wasn't frozen in the supermarket aisle. Uh,
oh,
the
then you
closest thing
definitely got to
we
come out over here for that.
closest thing we had was a Crystals, and I, I can only guess is that it was a pale imitation because they didn't last long out here in North Texas. So
So with White Castle burgers, they have the glorious title of sometimes being called murder burgers. Okay, so and I'll be honest, they don't do that to me. They really don't. I don't know if my stomach has a tendency of like dealing with it in a better way, but really when you have a White Castle burger, first of all, they're a late night snack. It's something that you could have at 12, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's open. Um, so and then since they're small slider burgers, you could get like 4 of them, right?
yeah.
For me, I could probably pull in 3. Um, You have them, they're fine. They taste just fine. There's nothing exciting about them. They're fast food done the way it is. Better than McDonald's burger, I'll tell you that much. Um, and then within maybe 2 hours or so, you might start feeling it. So to not be graphic, which I think I already gotten a little too far. That's why they're called murder burgers in many
I'd see.
cases.
Yeah.
But they don't. Thankfully for me, it doesn't happen like that.
Well, if you're out there and you want to be a part of this giveaway, please put a comment in there. Say hi to us. Say let us know you're there. If you're on the LinkedIn where we're live, I know you're able to comment there. If you're on Facebook, you can comment there. If you're watching us on Twitter, head on over to one of the other two so you can get on into the list for the giveaway. But
Yeah. So I do have a list of names as well. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and get that started. So let's
oh
go
yeah,
ahead. Let's which one you want to do first? You want to do the 8 billion genies, the dual powerbomb, or Mandalorian? Which one you want to do? I'll let you
let's
make it.
let's do the power. Let's do the power bomb since
Let's
we're
do
going
a
to be talking
powerbomb,
wrestling.
which is such a good book. I love this book. It's such a fun book. If you guys haven't read it, you got to read it. So let me do a screen share here. So give me 1 second while I pull that screen share out. And I have people from my groups already there. So here it is.
There we go.
We got the wheel. So let's take a look at who is going to be our first winner of the day. All right, here we go. And our first winner is going to be Dee Dee. It looks like. Congratulations. She's gonna win Do a Power Bomb. Can't wait to let her know that she's gonna win that one. So
And
cool.
if you want to get your name on the list, please comment as soon as you can, because we're going to be doing this while we're
Mhm.
live here.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the pull list
Yeah, let's
for
talk about
this
the pull
week.
list. So the pull list. Just so that everyone knows what the pull list means to me. One of the main things I wanted to do in my channel was a weekly pull list. Now, I know that pull lists exist with other channels and they do it. But one thing I learned from those channels is that they're long. And a lot of them go 15, 20 minutes. Some could even go an hour where they just say, well, this book is coming out and I'm picking this book comes out this week. I don't have a problem with that. For me, it's perfectly fine. However, I know YouTube's attention span is short. And I know that there are individuals out there that like to just know what to get, pick up, and then go pick it up. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something a little different than what I normally see, and that's where I ended up coming up with a poll list under 5 minutes. I extended it to 10 minutes, but there really is within that time frame of five to
Hmm.
8 minutes. The other aspect of the pull list is that originally, when I first started, I started at Squiggy's Dugout, which is a local chain around here, and I want to be able to support local comic shops. I'm a huge local comic shop guy because I personally love going to the shop, picking up my books, and going there. Well, it became a bigger thing because I knew sooner or later I had to leave Squiggy's comic dugout. I still have much love for them, and I will go back on occasions. But I now do it. I'm always on the road, so since I'm always on the road, I either find a comic book shop that I'm nearby, or I'll do it at a place that will be cool to do it, so you guys get some footage. So my last pull list was done from the Queen's Comic Party. It was a very small place, so the footage that you have there is really very minimal footage in comparison to the one I did in Secret Stash a few weeks ago, where I wasn't in Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, which that was fun. That was a great place. Um, that's what the pull list is all about now. It's like the idea of the pull list is where is he going to be this week, and what comic books is he picking. And I like to pick two from Marvel, two from DC, and of course two indie books. But then at the end, you get the majority of books that are coming out.
Yeah. So where are you going to be this week? Not to give
Mm.
away the pull list, but
Well, as I mentioned to you before, there's actually two locations I might be this week. So it's going to be one or the other. But I'll let you guys in here on the little secret of where it might be for today's pull list. Well, not today's pull list, for next week's pull list. It it's not a comic book shop. It's something that I'm doing tonight, and somewhere I'm going to be tonight. So that's the information you're gonna get. It's not a hard one to figure out. But let's just say somewhere along the lines you might see a yes, 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 yes.
So, are you going to be streaming that giveaway live? I mean, not the giveaway, but the pull list live from that
No, the pull
location?
list is always recorded. The pull list is always recorded, and I put them out on Mondays for the following week. So
Hmm.
the idea is if I used to do it on that week where I would record a pull list on Tuesday and in Squiggy's dugout where I would have the comic book and I could just say, hey, this comic book is here. However, what I've noticed is that people want to prepare themselves, so they might go in advance. So now it's a week ahead of time. So the
Hmm.
pull list that you're going to be seeing for the next pull list that you're going to see is for the following weeks. Like today's pull list on the 21st, I already recorded it about 2 weeks ago, and it's already out.
Hmm.
And I believe it's the Harley Quinn anniversary one.
Oh yeah, I
And
saw that one.
the next week's pull list, which is out, it came out on Monday, is the Bruce Campbell writing DC horror special. So Bruce Campbell writing a DC comic, that sounds pretty fun. Among
That
other
might
things.
get me into the comic shop.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the idea. I want to be able to get people books that they're going to be able to just grab and read. I don't want to pick books that are, we're in the fourth part of a 6 issue series. Unless there's a significant value to a book. For example, The Edge of Spider-Verse, which is coming out soon, and they've been having multiple issues. Every issue of Edge of Spider-Verse is an anthology series, but they're introducing new spider characters, and some of them are getting a lot of notoriety for certain reasons or another, right?
Hmm.
That's something that's important to say, hey, go pick up this book. It's a key book. It's a book you want to pick. It's a book that when the time comes, you might be able to have a gold mine in your hands. The only thing is that you can't guarantee a gold mine. For me, when I collected books because it was story driven rather than this is a possibility of something big. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
I never collected specifically for the idea of selling them. It's always been a personal reason for me to
same
buy
here.
a comic book. I got about three different comic books of Gru the Wanderer by Sergio Aragones,
Classic
and
series.
I got them signed. So
Yeah,
that for me, it means a whole heck of a lot more than it would on eBay. So
for me too. I have many signed books, many, because I was that kid that would go to the convention with that cart with the short boxes, and I
hmm.
would just take out the stack of books. Now I wasn't, I didn't bring like Chris Claremont. I'll use an example, right? I got tons of Chris Claremont books because I was a huge X Men, right? Who wasn't, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't bring Chris Claremont 50 books to sign. I'll be very conservative.
Hmm.
Maybe not as conservative as you probably will think, but I'll probably max out at 10 books and say these are the 10 books I'll max out.
Yeah.
And at that time, they were freely sign you books. Today they charge you to sign them, but I
Hmm.
don't think many people do that anymore. So I personally don't go to conventions like I used to, where I would take a whole bunch of books and get them signed. I will actually leave that for a signing session, which we do have a lot of these over here. So whenever
Yeah.
there's somebody signing, I will go out and take whatever the maximum amount. I'll bring some family members with me because they'll get their group, they'll get their books, and I'll tell the artist or writer that's present, it's like I'm gonna give these away. I'm just letting you know, and they're really happy to hear that. And they say, "Oh yeah, that's fantastic," because again, for me, it's about giving back rather than taking. I'm not
Yeah.
taking anything. I don't make a profit out of any of this. I'll be honest with you. It's all me doing. It's all me giving back in one way or another.
And that's a great thing. I love hearing that. A lot of people these days in comic books, they kind of are a little self-centered when it comes to the way they treat businesses.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's a lot of times these businesses do forget about the audience and the people and the reason why there are generation after generation of fans. It's because of the love of the comic books, it's the love of the characters, it's the love of the artists, the writers, and that's passed down from generation to generation, and not just in long boxes and stories that you have, like that, speaking with Chris Claremont on obviously more than one occasion,
Oh
and
yeah,
taking a
he
few
he
books.
he met Jubilee. He met Jubilee. He met Phoenix. You know, he took a photo with them. Not that it mattered, but you know what I mean. It's like for me,
I
it
think it
mattered to
did.
me. For me, it did.
I'm sure he didn't mean he hasn't met too many Jubilees in Phoenix. I'm sure he's met a couple, but I think each one is probably a real special thing to feel on the inside to see
Mhm.
those characters literally come to life right
Exactly, and
before
I
them.
know
So
when he met Phoenix, he met her when she was just a toddler, and she was dressed up as as the Phoenix. She had the whole get up. So there, I'm not a cosplayer, but my daughters are. My two daughters
yeah,
are cosplayers. I can never be a cosplayer. It's beyond me. I'm a comic book guy. I'm an artist. And when they ask me, "What are you dressed up this year?" Every time they ask me the question, "Where are you gonna dress up this year?" I'm gonna dress up as a content creator, or I'm gonna dress up as an artist. You know, for 1 year I even said I'm gonna dress up as Peter Parker. It's like not Spider Man. No, I'm dressing up as Peter Parker. I'm gonna put a camera in my neck, and there you
got your
have it. There's your
backpack.
Peter Parker. Done. Simple
you
as
know
that.
who um, you know who really loves to cosplay and put on a character? That's Bray Wyatt, who's
Yeah.
people have been talking about lately.
Yep.
Uh, these things they're doing off camera, WWE now with Triple H in charge, Paul Levesque or Levesque, excuse me. He's got something going on up here that is really intriguing the minds of everybody because the lights have been going out. They've been playing White Rabbit. If it's at a taping, they're doing it during the commercial break, or they're doing it at a house show, and they're teasing something big.
Hmm.
And this guy right here, Matt Black, seems to think that Bray Wyatt may be coming up here this Friday on Smackdown,
Yeah.
nine twenty
So
three, 9:23.
so one of the things I would say about the whole Bray Wyatt scenario, he was, what's the word? He was released, and he really shouldn't have been released. Um,
No,
he
I
shouldn't have been
agree.
released. He was one of those released where it was for money purposes. That's what it ended up being. It was because of budgetary reasons, as they want to say. I think it was also because he was way too creative, and he was one of those guys that kind of became. He didn't become. I think Bray Wyatt is not the type of character that became bigger than the business, but he became at this particular point bigger than the business, right?
Yes.
And that's something that both comics and wrestling have in common. They don't want their stars to outgrow their company, and I think
Hmm.
that's the problem we've been having lately, especially in WWE. I don't know if AEW is at that point yet. I think they might end up getting there eventually, especially with the whole CM Punk scenario going on. Which, if we could probably spend another 3 hours talking about that scenario. Um,
Yeah. Well, the only thing
but
I got to say about that is that he's pipe bombed two companies right now, blaming both companies, and there's only one common denominator at both pipe bombs. So there you
mhm,
go.
exactly, and the pipe bomb he did on that night was a rant rather than a pipe bomb.
And
He was pissed. He was
he was
pissed about.
prepared to do that too. I
Oh
mean,
yes, he was definitely prepared to do that.
I saw
It
that
was set
scrum,
up. It was
and
definitely set up.
the reporter that they called on first didn't even have a chance to ask a question, and CM Punk led the whole way. So
Yeah, exactly. You win the world title, not for the first time, for the second time, and the first thing you want to talk about is Cabana. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But again, what people are thinking in their head doesn't always translate on what ends up happening, right? So I hope the best for all of those guys because I like all those guys, right?
Yeah.
Um, Back to this whole Bray Wyatt of it all. So the White Rabbit, um, the TikTok, where it's very close to Carrying Cross, most formerly known as Killer Cross. Did
Hmm.
I'm seeing that it sounds to me like it's gonna a faction is being formed
Yeah.
from it. I don't think it's I'm coming after Killer Cross. I'm coming after Karen. I think they're working hand in hand because you also have Scarlet involved, Scarlet Bordeaux involved,
Hmm.
and they will actually do a really good job becoming like a new version of the White family. Also,
Yeah.
you had the return of Braun Strowman. Why not bring him in, make him involved, and have a different Wyatt family dynamic? Because I would think that would make sense more so than bringing back the Mister Rogers character. The Fiend, he's coming because people love the Fiend. You
I
know,
think for people like Wyatt or Strowman, there's really only one place to go that's going to pay them what they feel they're worth, and everybody should be paid what they feel they're worth. But when they separated Scarlet and Carrion, that was a mistake. When they put him up in that gimp gimmick, that was a mistake.
well
Um,
that was Ron Simmons all over again, right?
yeah,
Remember
yeah,
Ron Simmons when he had that helmet that was way too tight for his head? Um,
absolutely, that was terrible.
yeah, he was one of those guys when he first showed up in the main roster, as they call it. They dropped the ball on him because he's money. Just
Hmm.
look at the guy. He's money, and it with Scarlett next to him, more money. It was, but again, it was pride over. It was pride
Yeah,
over what's the word I'm looking for? Pride over just common sense, right? When you really think of it
it's
that way.
yeah. Well, I mentioned this when we weren't on live stream, but they had a almost a policy of subverting the expectations of the fans and tradition of not giving them what they want.
Hmm. And
And
that's always
so,
been the case.
yeah,
What people don't understand. That's nothing new. It was only a rare occasions where people came in as their character from previous companies. Lex Luger, when he first came in,
hmm,
if you remember, he was a bodybuilder from the WBF. Then he became the narcissist. Then he became this American character so that they could create a new Hulk Hogan out of him. And
yeah.
unfortunately, he just wasn't that guy for it, right?
And
Then you have,
I was
you
just
know,
going to say that the whole idea of the 6 foot plus bodybuilder is the only thing people want to see on screen is pretty it was ridiculous at the time because you wound up getting people that were not prepared or trained or had a love for wrestling, and you wind up with Giant Gonzalez wearing a unitard or whatever it was,
I don't know what that was.
but he couldn't wrestle, you know. And I see Tony Khan sort of making the same mistakes, but not really. I mean, he's not letting this guy wrestle, but he is 7 foot plus and lumbering around.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I guess they're training him for something,
Yeah,
but he's not there yet. But he's
no,
such a presence, right? It's like almost right. You're such a presence. You have to showcase it. You have
yeah,
because that's what Andre the Giant was, right? Andre the
mm-hmm,
Giant. Again, first of all, there's talent behind Andre, right?
yes,
That's the truth. But Andre the Giant represented something that was larger than life, and that's what how WWE wants to envision themselves at that time, and even up to recently. They want to be a larger than life kind of company. So our characters have to be larger than life. And what they meant by it is that they have to physically be larger than life rather than personality. We didn't have many Roddy Pipers. Roddy Piper was never a big guy, but he had a mouthpiece that you couldn't deny,
yeah,
right? And that's what made him the heel that he was. You have a guy like Chris Jericho. Now, I mentioned earlier that they like to bring people in and try to like change the character. Jericho was one of those guys that came in as Jericho. That wasn't common, but they buried him almost as soon as he came in, right? and they made him evolve himself. And luckily for Jericho, he understood how that business functioned, so he adapted to that business structure, and he is who he is today. If it wasn't for that, he
I
for
think, yeah, Jericho has a love for the business, and he knows that the clock is ticking on his ability to do things in the ring. Definitely tonight he'll be
oh, I can't wait
in
to
the
see that
ring.
match. I honestly can't
So
wait to see that match. Jericho's one of my favorites. He's always been one of my favorites from the moment he first
yeah,
showed up.
and you know what? I think that has some ramifications for ROH if he winds up taking the title. It gives them a little bit more leverage to get TV time for ROH, which could only be a good thing.
So ROH is getting their TV time once they have a TV deal.
Yeah.
From what I heard, there is no TV deal in the place. They're currently working on how they're going to get that TV deal to happen, and that's the reason
Hmm.
why ROH really has been the Rampage show. So when you
Yeah.
watch Rampage, it's really the ROH show. It's what ROH should be. I look at this card and I say to myself, "Oh my goodness, there's a lot of championships." Um, we already know John Moxley and Brian Danielson is going to be a title change. I think Brian is going to win it. Um, First, a couple of reasons. I think one is because he's overdue.
Hmm.
Um, Two, because John kind of already emphasized that he wants to go on vacation,
Yeah, but that's the more cynical reason, and
right?
that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I think that's to be the case. So I think Danielson is going to go over tonight, and obviously I will love it. I
mhm.
also believe the Acclaim are going to win tonight. I
Yeah.
think they hold off to that. They should have called the audible when they were supposed to. But Swerve in Our Glory really sounds like they're going to implode tonight. That's
Well,
what it
that's not
sounds like.
exact. They've done this before. They did that with Thunder Rosa, who lost at the pay per view, and the following week she wound up winning
Yeah,
the title
there's something
then.
about it. And
And
the Acclaims are
that's
hometown boys and stuff.
yeah. So I think that's why they waited for Thunder Rosa, was because she was in her hometown. So I think that's
Hmm.
what they're doing here
Yeah.
with the acclaimed. So as far as TV goes, it's an iffy call, but as far as how the crowd is going to play, it's spot on. So,
Yeah. The Acclaim is going to be home favorites. Everybody's going to love them. And
hmm,
they're definitely going over. That's
yeah,
guaranteed to me. The matches that I'm curious more is the Pack and Orange Cassidy. I
yeah,
think I have a feeling Cassidy is going to win it. And here's my reasoning behind it. I always try to think. I don't want to think like a smart mark as they call it, right? But my thought process is we have someone luring for this title already, right?
hmm.
Um, what's his name? Why is his name escaping me? But the
Ethan
firm,
Page,
Ethan Page. Thank you.
yeah,
So Ethan Page is luring for this title. He made it very clear that that's the title he's gunning for, and his thing is that he's killing the gimmicks. Well, who's the biggest gimmick right now? Urge Cassidy. He's the biggest gimmick wrestler. Because he's a gimmick wrestler. Whether you like him or you don't. Personally, I like him. My wife likes him. I think she's gonna wear his T-shirt today. Um, she's upset because he hasn't been getting a lot of wins lately. So,
hmm.
but I think he's going over tonight, so that an Ethan Page Orange Cassidy showdown would eventually happen. Because what does Pac have for this title other than he could travel around the world with it? Right? That's what this title was meant. It's meant to be a traveling title, right? So and
You
he
know,
already has the trios title. So does he really need this secondary title? So I think Orange is gonna go
I think
over.
not, because you make a lot of sense with the traveling title there. I think your trios championship is going to be your traveling title as well, because plenty of other promotions have given their titles up to come here with the wrestlers going back and forth, and so
Mhm.
just to build some goodwill, it would make sense for uh, Ethan Page to take that title off of Orange Cassidy somewhere down the line, go over to Mexico or Japan, lose it to somebody there, and let them carry the title around for a while.
Yeah. So that's the whole point, and that's why I see Orange winning it. Um,
Hmm.
as far as the interim women's champion, Tony's keeping it. She ain't that ain't going nowhere. Um, That's not going. And I do believe Claudio's going to stay with the title, the RH title. I think
Really?
Jericho is just he's just using it as a way to heighten the story. But my guess is that if I'm a betting man, I'll pick Brian to win. I'll pick the Acclaim to win. I think those are the two easy ones.
Hmm.
I'll pick Orange Cassidy to outmaneuver Pac, and then Tony Storm is gonna leave with the interim title because I think there's more to a Tony Storm Thunder Rosa match than there are the rest of them. That's
Yeah,
my personal opinion.
just like Moxley before her, she's going to have to hold on to that title until she can solidly keep it
Hmm.
against
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa.
So
So,
I'm looking forward to that. I think I have some friends that might wrestle tonight there. I had one friend of mine say he was actually in my show, Liam Davis. He wrestled
hmm,
last week. He wrestled the Butcher and the Blazer. Go check that out when you get a chance. In a losing effort, of course. But the guys from Cap Wrestling, where um, this guy from the Acclaim, he's part of that group.
hmm,
Um, you'll probably see a lot of those guys tonight in the dark matches, which I look forward to. That's one thing I do like that AEW does. It brings me back to the days where I will watch wrestling on a Saturday afternoon with my dad and watch superstars, and they're all squash matches. Every single match is a
yeah.
squash match, right? Um,
Well,
but
you got two things going on here. You got AEW paying homage to the local promotion, the local territory, and then you've also got the young and up and coming wrestler paying his dues. So it's almost like these are, without saying it is, tryouts.
yeah, the
To see
territory days. It's
how they
going
do
back
with the
to the
crowd,
territory days.
how well they put somebody else over, and what kind of what's their work rate. Uh, you
Hmm.
know, we keep seeing Kylan King come back and forth. She's with the NWA, but they haven't really signed her to a full time contract.
Yeah,
But she comes, whenever they call, she's there and she'll put in a match.
agree. What I would like to see tonight is a surprise person. Someone comes in and it's just like someone we haven't seen in a while. I don't know who it is. I can't tell you who it is. But one person that I've always wanted to see show up in an AEW or WWE. I'm not picking on who they should show. I want to see a Nick Aldis. I want to see him get his credit in a mainstream industry. Nick
Hmm.
Aldis is Nick Bogwinkle from the day. That's what I see. Maybe even a little bit of a Ric Flair in him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
he has the potential to be some company's ultimate heel. MJF, however, is he's a hometown guy, but he's from Long Island, so I don't know how that's gonna work because Queens is technically Long Island. A lot of people don't know Queens and Brooklyn are part of Long Island. They're actually the starting points of Long Island, even though they're
I
part
had
of New
no
York.
idea.
Yeah.
I had
So
no idea.
if you ever look at the map again, right? Look at the map of New York, and what you will see is that Queens and Brooklyn begin Long Island. In fact, Queens also has a a suburb called Long Island City. So, and it's nowhere near the Long Island side of it. It's actually at the beginning end
Yeah.
of Queens from Manhattan. So
Well,
there's
it's
some
going
New
to be a
York
fun
history.
night. Fun night of
There's some.
wrestling coming up tonight.
It's gonna be a long night of wrestling. I tell you
Oh
that
man,
much.
you're going to have a lot to hold on to with the all
Yeah.
of the extra dark matches coming up.
If it's anything like last year, it's gonna be a long night of wrestling. It's gonna be a long night.
Um, I pick Dr. Britt Baker over Athena for some reason or another. I have no
Mm.
idea why. Athena, they're stalling on her, and I think that's to keep her away from being able to challenge Tony Storm for
Mhm.
that title. But I
I
don't.
could see a Serena Deep get a win.
Mm, yeah, but not tonight.
Yeah,
Not
not tonight.
tonight.
No,
She's on the list
she's
definitely.
on the list. Yeah, she's definitely on the list. I do see her holding that title someday.
And I
You
think
know.
if you're playing the long game, and like Tony does, Serena Deeb, for one reason or another, loses to Tony Storm. Maybe Sheeta comes back and plays some dirty pool, and then she has to redeem herself within a year at next year's Grand Slam and takes home the title then.
Hey, who knows? The women's division in AEW, they caught a lot of criticism, but they got a lot of good talent. They
Hmm.
got a lot of good talent, more talent than most people think. It's just the utilization of it, and everybody talks about,
Yeah,
well, they're second fiddle to the men. It's like they've always been second fiddle to the men, always, and it, not because it was done on purpose. It wasn't done on purpose, but let's face it, wrestling was a man's sport for a very long time,
oh
and the
yeah,
women were always secondary. They were part of the secondary crowd. They were part of the opening acts. I I'm
it
sure
was a
you
novelty
remember the
act.
day. Yeah, it was a novelty. You remember the midget wrestlers or the little people wrestlers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those days, Mexico was big. So I think women in wrestling is fantastic, and I love seeing women in wrestling today because they're taken with more respect than they ever have ever.
We
We
have
don't
come a
we don't
long
get the
way
bra and
from
patties matches like we used to
yeah,
anymore. Um,
and we've come a long way from the fabulous Moolah squash matches. When she was
yeah.
champion, it didn't matter who she was wrestling.
Hmm.
The only time it mattered was when there was going to be a title change, and they made a big fuss about it. But
Yeah,
other
Wendy
than that,
Reffler.
the next champion, was doing squash matches against nobody. They only had one woman at a time, essentially, in the women's division back in the '70s and
Yeah,
early
and,
'80s.
and in the 80s, they were trying to build teams because you did had people like Alunda Blaze or Medusa in the other companies. You had Sensational Sherry, but what ended up happening?
Hmm.
They ended up moving towards more of a managerial role.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. Sensational Sherry, an amazing wrestler. She's an
Well,
amazing wrestler,
yeah.
and so people forget how good of a wrestler she was in her prime. But
Hmm.
man, could she be such a great heel manager?
Oh yeah. She
I
was
put her on
a
top of
fire on the mic.
yeah, I put her
Fire.
on top of Heenan and stuff like that when it comes to great managers from that era.
Hmm.
Heenan, to me, Heenan's number one, right? But Sherry, she's right next to him. That's how
Yeah.
good she was because everyone she was with, she elevated them, no matter who they were, no matter how good they were, no matter. But she was given good talent, though. I got to give her that
Yeah.
much. She was always with
And
good talent.
it was always a shame when in the Southern Territories you had more managers than women wrestlers because your sunshines and your baby dolls didn't have to be able to wrestle. Just take one bump being flicked in over the ropes, and that was it. They just needed to stand there, look good, screech at the
They were
camera,
valets, right?
route. Yeah, yeah,
They were
and
valets.
that spot was traditionally for two women wrestlers to come in and showcase what they got, and that was taken away from
Yeah, and that's why when she came in, she changed that mold, right?
them.
Say, everybody talks about Elizabeth, and granted, Elizabeth was fantastic, but when you really watch Elizabeth, she was just in a corner. She would clap, she would be
She
quiet,
she
but
didn't take a bump. She
she
wasn't
didn't take
off
a bump.
very
She
much
did
on the
take a
mic.
bump. She did take bumps here and there, but not to the same extent as the rest of them.
Nah, she
But
fell on her butt. She got knocked over and fell on her butt.
but
That's
she
that's
was
about it.
but she was complimenting Macho Man. That was the
Yes.
idea. Macho Man was the madness, right? The craziness, the wildness of what Macho Man. And she was like, it really was a Beauty and the Beast kind of dynamic between the two of them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's
You
why
had
people, to this day, people love them, even though behind the scenes they were going through hell. But
they were
on the
divorced
screen,
before they stopped appearing together.
they were divorced when they got married. How's that for an answer?
Oh
Whew, people did
yeah.
not know that one, but the
Lots of
truth,
details in the background, brother. Oh
cream of
yeah.
the cream of the crop, man. I love him. I miss Macho Man. He a little cuckoo in the head, you know. And for me, I try to separate the person from the character. That's how,
Mhm.
because my favorites have always been Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
I was a Hulk Hogan. I I'm a fan of the characters. The individuals are a different story, and you have to. I think for me, you have to, because when you get to find out who these people are in real life, you're kind of like, damn. Like what I heard
When
about. certain individuals. I'm like, when I heard the things Macho Man would do to his girlfriends, I'm like, dude, this guy was paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's sad hearing those stories, but man, dude, I love Macho Man Randy Savage, the wrestler. You know what I mean?
But that was also part of the Macho Man character. I mean,
He was
you
elevated.
take that paranoia and you elevate it, and you make it big and broad strokes, and you don't go into the details of the minutia, brother.
Yeah.
And that's what you have there. And it's sad that you know these people, and I say that loosely, these people, these wrestlers, um, have their big and bright and positive personalities that they could have applied personally in private, but they didn't. You know, so I mean, there's always room for change in anybody's life, and there's always room to grow. And
Agreed.
maybe we can help grow somebody's collection.
Oh, okay. So we got the 8 billion genes. Let's do the 8 billion genes. I was thinking about that
Okay.
too. Let's do this one, the 8 billion genes. So Dee Dee won the do a power pump. So I'm really happy she won it. Let's see who is next. I love this wheel. This wheel is so much fun. All right. So sounds to me. Oh, look at that. Cool. 88 Celebrity Comics has won the 8 Billion Genies issue number 2, first printing of 8 Billion Genies. Look at that. This is such a good book, man. If you haven't read a good book, this is my favorite book of the year right now. This is clearly one of the best stories out there. So just envision one day everyone in the world gets a genie and they get granted one wish.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, chaos. Chaos. So 88 Celebrity Comics. I can't wait to tell him because he's been like on top of this. He's been like, oh man, I want to win. I want to win. So I'm really happy. The people that are winning, I'm
Uh
happy
huh.
are winning.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's good. That's good. That's the way it should be. I love
yeah.
the audience participation.
So let's go
Let
ahead.
me
Let me
do
rem-
something real quick before we. I know you want to do one more
We
giveaway.
got one more, right?
Let me do this real quick. This program was brought to you by DMRHosting.com. The business plan boasts unlimited data storage, unlimited data transfer, antivirus, and spam protection, along with 24/7, 365 support via chat, phone call, all for $4.45 a month. Get started today with uh, uh, DMRHosting.com. That's DMRHosting.com. So let's get back to the goodies.
Okay. So we want to do the last one.
Yeah.
Knock it out the park. All right, the last one is the Mandalorian issue number 1. This is the photo cover of the first issue. Let me get that camera. All right, got
Let
the
me
little plastic.
let me
Yeah,
make you all the
let me
way
get.
big here for a second.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, there you go. There it is. So now we got that the Mandalorian cover. This is the variant photo cover. We're gonna give this one next. This is our last one. So let me go ahead and put that there, and let's find out who wins this last one here. And the wheel keeps spinning. And our winner is Tommy. Oh no, 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 no! Last minute. Hawk Mana. Hawk Mana is our last winner of this particular Izzy Fest giveaway. Congratulations, Hawk Mana. I'm gonna make sure that everyone knows that they are the winners for these 2 items. They probably don't even know it right now. They're like, huh?
No, but
But
they may watch this on repeat or when it comes up on your channel later on,
yeah.
and they'll be excited to know that they won, or maybe you're going to have them check an email.
Well, what I'll do is I have a lot of these folks already on IG, so I'm gonna privately DM them and be like, "Hey guys, you just won this," and I know, and thankfully so far it's been very hopeful that they've been local boys, so I don't have to worry about shipping. One of the winners is out in California, so that one I don't have a problem with. But
Well, I love how you're doing things. I love how you're presenting your channels. I love how you're preparing people for their pull lists early on. I'm really glad I had you on today. I want to have you back, again at your convenience, and we'll talk about different things. We can recap whatever happens to be happening in the world of wrestling, comic books. Maybe we'll talk a little TV. Who knows?
Oh
But
yeah, man. Right now we got Andor. We got 3 episodes of Andor that came out this week. We
mhm.
could talk about She-Hulk all day. I'm not a I'm believe it or not, I'm not a Game of Thrones guy. I don't watch House of the Dragon. I tried watching the first episode. It was okay for me. It's just not my. It's just not. It wasn't, drawing me. Um, Watching Lord of the
Game of
Rings.
Thrones has a little too much interfamily romance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I that stuff I know. I know a lot about Game of Thrones. Again, I like to keep my ears open for a lot of these things.
Hmm.
Oh, the podcast. That's right. I do have a podcast. I forget about that existing sometime. But I do have and usually I just take what's in the videos and put it in the podcast so people can
Hmm.
listen in.
But
And
they
things
can
like that.
people can find you on Anchor FM
Hmm.
slash IzzyVerse. They can find you on YouTube.com at IzzyVerse. I
Yep.
think on Instagram and Twitter, you're at IzzyVerse
Yeah, I'm at
as
IzzyVerse
well.
NYC and pretty much all the other socials. So when
Hmm.
you find me in the socials, I'm IzzyVerse NYC. I didn't get IzzyVerse normally because other people actually had it before I did,
Yeah,
but I did
but
manage to get the IzzyVerse on YouTube as is. So
and all of your links are available on Linktree
yeah,
slash IzzyVerse.
I know it's the way
Uh,
the writing is always interesting. But there's one more thing, one more place that I definitely have to plug in, and that is Whatnot. So I do have a Whatnot. My Whatnot is very special to me because I'm going to be doing a Whatnot this Friday at 6 o'clock, and I do have some more giveaways in the Whatnot. Also, I do have a Whatnot promo code. So if you go whatnot.com/invite/Izzyverse, you're gonna get $15 credit, which most people give 10, but for me it's $15, and it's a $15 credit towards your first purchase. You could buy it. You could buy whatever you want for $15, and you don't have to spend a dime, and it's all yours. And you do what
are
you want to do afterwards. So,
are you still offering a 15% discount on purchases at shop at Comic Exposure?
yep, at Comic Exposure, you get 15% off with the promo code IzzyVerse. That's also part of it. And you also now get 10% off BCW supplies with promo code IzzyVerse. So I got a couple of affiliates, man. I worked on getting my affiliates. I got my affiliates. Really excited about those guys. And it's just like you. We want to grow the business, and a lot of this is done by our hard, sweat, doing the
Yeah.
work, blood and sweat. That's all is. Everything you see is me. The editing is me. The video is me. I'm doing all that stuff. You see my gear in the background there.
All of the
Um,
graphics. No, I
yeah,
completely
everything you see
understand.
is 100% Izzy. And Izzyverse really is everything Izzy. And my family helps out to an extent here and there. Someone has to hold the camera. You know what I mean? when I'm on vacation. So, and they've been great, and I have a great support team. So
Now,
really happy about it.
everybody may not know exactly why you're doing all the giveaways, or why you're going to see the great night of wrestling tonight. It's your birthday,
Yeah, you are.
and
We
that's what the
decide. You decide.
celebration is.
That is today. Today is the big 4-6. Wow.
Wow.
I'm just happy you still got the front of my hair. You know what I mean?
Oh
I still
yeah,
got the
yeah,
front. The back is a little different, but the front of my hair is still there. I still
yeah.
maintain my youth in some way.
When my toupee comes back from the cleaners, I'll stop wearing hats. So.
There you go. I used to be a hat guy a long time ago. I used to wear hats all the time, and now I
Yeah.
rarely wear hats. It's just, I don't know. It's just when I wear a hat, then I start sweating in the hat, and then the hat starts smelling, and that's it. I'm
Well,
tired.
just like a new coffee cup each day, I also have a new cap each day. So,
Cool.
showing off a little bit of my other collections that I don't mention anything about during the streams.
Yeah, this is the one. This is one of a few too. So my little Infinity Gauntlet glove is there. I got a Superman cup. I got a Batman cup, but they're not as extravagant as this one. They're just cups with logos on them. Hmm.
So, what we got going on tomorrow, we're going to be talking with Chaz Buchanan about the Halton Theater. We're going to be going in depth for the Gourd in the Heart of Texas Fest. Now, that's a music festival happening at the Haltom Theater, and there's going to be a ton of bands. You're not going to want to miss this because Chaz is going to have a lot of information about what's going on, where to get the tickets, and how long it's going to last. I think it's, well, I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. And Friday, we are going to do a repeat of what happened on Tuesday. Unfortunately, we had audio issues, but I got back together with Ike Duncan, and we're going to talk about his film project, Pandemic, and that's Friday, September 23rd. A lot of good stuff coming back. Izzy, we're going to have you back sometime. We're going to make this happen. And we're going to do this all again sometime with a lot of different products. I guess
Oh
to give
yeah,
away
man.
if that's what you love to do.
I love to come back. I usually work at this time, so you got me. You got me on the vacation week, so so we'll try to see if we can do it again sometime. I
Yeah,
definitely love talking about this stuff. Comics,
we
wrestling. We
can
could talk all day about it, as you can
we
tell.
can always record something and post it up at a later date whenever it's convenient for you. So,
Awesome.
but thanks for being here, and thanks for watching, folks.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.